So, the day has finally come. You're a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master, and you've thought of something that you haven't been able to find online, or at least find it in a balanced and trusted way. So, you have to homebrew something, and I may just have a theory for how to go about beginning to do so. Generally, I have 3 guidelines if you're making homebrew for the first time. The first one is, if you can, steal. We've already previously established that you can't find something online, but if you found something and you said, this isn't exactly right, but with a couple modifications it could be, do that instead. Just make sure to follow the other 2 guidelines that I'm about to say when you do so. Alright, second guideline is use the player's character sheets to make sure that the encounter is balanced. You may be wondering how to do that, and if so, you've come to the right place. Generally, the 4 metrics I use to figure this out are the total player's health total equal to the encounter that you're planning? So if it's 4 player characters fighting 1 boss monster, is the boss monster's health total equal to all the players combined? The second is, are the average damage outputs the same? So, for example, if you have a bunch of level 1 players and they can only use weapons that are a d8 of damage, but you have a boss monster who does 2d8 of damage with every strike, then you're likely going to have to make it so that the boss monster is twice as likely to hit, but takes 2 less attacks than the rest of the players. That way, the chances of a certain amount of damage being done every round are the same. I have another video about the CR system that covers that topic more in depth, so if you want that advice, go down to that video. It's just about the 5e CR system. The third is don't put any obstacle in front of your players that they can't actually get through. And you might be wondering, how do you know that? Well, I'll tell you. The easiest way to figure this out is just to think, what is the highest level of spell that they have available to them, and what conditions can those level of spells cure? So, for example, if you want someone to fight a basilisk, and you don't have any cures for petrification, then there's probably going to be some player deaths, because basilisks do petrification. You could, of course, give them a magic item to do that sort of thing so that they don't have to worry about it, but in my opinion, it's much easier to just stick to the abilities that they have. That way it gives them more agency. And also, looking at those spells can be a fun tool for you to figure out what sorts of magical effects that your monster can have. And the fourth and final point is, don't be afraid to change things in the moment. It's probably not going to work exactly the way you think it would right out of the box, so feel free to change and tweak things as the combat encounter goes on. Just don't make it impossible for your players to kill. Alright, now that we have all that balanced stuff covered, the third thing that I want you to think about when you're homebrewing for the first time is, what is the strategy of your homebrew creation? And when I say strategy, I don't necessarily mean it's strategy for combat exclusively, right? I also mean its goals. Like, what is this homebrew creation, whether that's multiple people, or a solo monster, or some sort of horrifying aberration? What are they trying to do in this encounter, and how are they thinking about going about it? So, for example, if your monster is a pack of wild animals, then maybe you should think about whether or not they'd stay and fight to the death, or if they really should be up to CR for the party that you're putting them against. They could be just attacking because they're trying to defend their home, or they think that the adventurers are an easy snack. Or, to give a relevant counterexample, maybe this is the first time that the party is encountering their big bad evil guy, or the villain of your campaign. It's worth figuring out if the big bad evil guy is running from the party, or if they just want to display their power to the party, or in general, just what reason are they encountering the big bad evil guy right now? If you are taking the time to homebrew something, we're going on the assumption that this thing that you're homebrewing is important enough to the story or to the player characters, or, for a joke, if that's the way you want to go with it, that it's probably worth you spending the time to think about the encounter dynamics. How would each character interact with this homebrew creature, or person, or set of creatures? But anyways, that's just a theory, and you can play however you want.